David Copperfield Chapter 45. Mr. Dick fulfills my aunt's predictions. It was some time now since I had left the doctor. Living in his neighborhood, I saw him frequently, and we all went to his house on 2 or 3 occasions to dinner or tea. The old soldier was in permanent quarters under the doctor's roof. She was exactly the same as ever, and the same immortal butterflies hovered over her cap. Like some other mothers whom I have known in the course of my life, Mrs. Markleham was far more fond of pleasure than her daughter was. She required a great deal of amusement, and, like a deep old soldier, pretended, in consulting her own inclinations, to be devoting herself to her child. The doctor's desire that Annie should be entertained was therefore particularly acceptable to this excellent parent, who expressed unqualified approval of his discretion, though I have no doubt, indeed, that she probed the doctor's wound without knowing it. Meaning nothing but a certain matured frivolity and selfishness, not always inseparable from full-blown years, I think she confirmed him in his fear that he was a constraint upon his young wife, and that there was no congeniality of feeling between them, by so strongly commending his design of lightening the load of her life. "My dear soul," she said to him one day when I was present, "you know there is no doubt it would be a little poky for Annie to be always shut up here." The doctor nodded his benevolent head. "When she comes to her mother's age," said Mrs. Markleham, with a flourish of her fan, "then it'll be another thing. You might put me into a jail, with genteel society and a rubber, and I should never care to come out. But I am not Annie, you know, and Annie is not her mother." "Surely, surely," said the doctor, "you are the best of creatures." "No, I beg your pardon," for the doctor made a gesture of deprecation. "I must say before your face, as I always say behind your back, you are the best of creatures, but of course you don't, now do you? Enter into the same pursuits and fancies as Annie." "No," said the doctor, in a sorrowful tone. "No, of course not," retorted the old soldier. "Take your dictionary, for example. What a useful work a dictionary is! What a necessary work! The meanings of words! Without Dr. Johnson, or somebody of that sort, we might have been at this present moment calling an Italian iron a bedstead. But we can't expect a dictionary, especially when it's making, to interest Annie, can we?" The doctor shook his head. "And that's why I so much approve," said Mrs. Markleham, tapping him on the shoulder with her shut-up fan, "of your thoughtfulness. It shows that you don't expect, as many elderly people do expect, old heads on young shoulders. You have studied Annie's character, and you understand it. That's what I find so charming." Even the calm and patient face of Dr. Strong expressed some little sense of pain, I thought, under the infliction of these compliments. "Therefore, my dear doctor," said the old soldier, giving him several affectionate taps, "you may command me at all times and seasons. Now, do understand that I am entirely at your service. I am ready to go with Annie to operas, concerts, exhibitions, all kinds of places, and you shall never find that I am tired. Duty, my dear doctor, before every consideration in the universe." She was as good as her word. She was one of those people who can bear a great deal of pleasure, and she never flinched in her perseverance in the cause. She seldom got hold of the newspaper, which she settled herself down in the softest chair in the house to read through an eyeglass, every day, for 2 hours. But she found out something that she was certain Annie would like to see. It was in vain for Annie to protest that she was weary of such things. Her mother's remonstrance always was, "Now, my dear Annie, I am sure you know better, and I must tell you, my love, that you are not making a proper return for the kindness of Dr. Strong." This was usually said in the doctor's presence, and appeared to me to constitute Annie's principal inducement for withdrawing her objections when she made any. But in general she resigned herself to her mother, and went where the old soldier would. It rarely happened now that Mr. Malden accompanied them. Sometimes my aunt and Dora were invited to do so, and accepted the invitation. Sometimes Dora only was asked. The time had been when I should have been uneasy in her going, but reflection on what had passed that former night in the doctor's study had made a change in my mistrust. I believed that the doctor was right, and I had no worse suspicions. My aunt rubbed her nose sometimes when she happened to be alone with me, and said she couldn't make it out. She wished they were happier. She didn't think our military friend, so she always called the old soldier, mended the matter at all. My aunt further expressed her opinion that if our military friend would cut off those butterflies and give them to the chimney sweepers for May Day, it would look like the beginning of something sensible on her part. But her abiding reliance was on Mr. Dick. That man had evidently an idea in his head, she said, and if he could only once pen it up into a corner, which was his great difficulty, he would distinguish himself in some extraordinary manner. Unconscious of this prediction, Mr. Dick continued to occupy precisely the same ground in reference to the doctor and to Mrs. Strong. He seemed neither to advance nor to recede. He appeared to have settled into his original foundation, like a building, and I must confess that my faith in his ever moving was not much greater than if he had been a building. But one night, when I had been married some months, Mr. Dick put his head into the parlour, where I was writing alone, Dora having gone out with my aunt to take tea with the two little birds, and said, with a significant cough, "You couldn't speak to me without inconveniencing yourself. Trotwood, I am afraid." "Certainly, Mr. Dick," said I. "Come in." "Trotwood," said Mr. Dick, laying his finger on the side of his nose, after he had shaken hands with me, "before I sit down, I wish to make an observation. You know your aunt?" "A little," I replied. "She is the most wonderful woman in the world, sir." After the delivery of this communication, which he shot out of himself as if he were loaded with it, Mr. Dick sat down with greater gravity than usual, and looked at me. "Now, boy," said Mr. Dick, "I am going to put a question to you." "As many as you please," said I. "What do you consider me, sir?" asked Mr. Dick, folding his arms. "A dear old friend," said I. "Thank you, Trotwood," returned Mr. Dick, laughing, and reaching across in high glee to shake hands with me. "But I mean, boy," resuming his gravity, "what do you consider me in this respect?" Touching his forehead, that I was puzzled how to answer, but he helped me with a word. "Weak," said Mr. Dick. "Well," I replied, dubiously, "rather so." "Exactly," cried Mr. Dick, who seemed quite enchanted by my reply. "That is, Trotwood, when they took some of the trouble out of you-know-whose head, and put it you-know-where, there was a—" Mr. Dick made his two hands revolve very fast about each other a great number of times, and then brought them into collision, and rolled them over and over one another, to express confusion. "There was that sort of thing done to me somehow. Eh?" I nodded at him, and he nodded back again. "In short." "Boy," said Mr. Dick, dropping his voice to a whisper, "I am simple." I would have qualified that conclusion, but he stopped me. "Yes, I am. She pretends I am not." She won't hear of it, but I am. I know I am. If she hadn't stood my friend, sir, I should have been shut up, to lead a dismal life these many years. But I'll provide for her. I never spend the copying money. I put it in a box. I have made a will. I'll leave it all to her. She shall be rich, noble. Mr. Dick took out his pocket handkerchief and wiped his eyes. He then folded it up with great care, pressed it smooth between his two hands, put it in his pocket, and seemed to put my aunt away with it. Now you are a scholar, Trotwood, said Mr. Dick. You are a fine scholar. You know what a learned man, what a great man, the doctor is. You know what honor he has always done me. Not proud in his wisdom. Humble, condescending even to poor Dick, who is simple and knows nothing. I have sent his name up, on a scrap of paper, to the kite, along the string, when it has been in the sky, among the larks. The kite has been glad to receive it, sir, and the sky has been brighter with it. I delighted him by saying, most heartily, that the doctor was deserving of our best respect and highest esteem. And his beautiful wife is a star, said Mr. Dick. A shining star. I have seen her shine, sir. But, bringing his chair nearer, and laying one hand upon my knee, clouds, sir, clouds. I answered the solicitude which his face expressed, by conveying the same expression into my own, and shaking my head. What clouds? Said Mr. Dick. He looked so wistfully into my face, and was so anxious to understand, that I took great pains to answer him slowly and distinctly, as I might have entered on an explanation to a child. There is some unfortunate division between them, I replied. Some unhappy cause of separation. A secret. It may be inseparable from the discrepancy in their years. It may have grown up out of almost nothing. Mr. Dick, who had told off every sentence with a thoughtful nod, paused when I had done, and sat considering, with his eyes upon my face, and his hand upon my knee. Doctor, not angry with her, Trotwood, he said, after some time. No. Devoted to her. Then, I have got it, boy, said Mr. Dick, the sudden exultation with which he slapped me on the knee, and leaned back in his chair, with his eyebrows lifted up as high as he could possibly lift them, made me think him farther out of his wits than ever. He became as suddenly grave again, and leaning forward as before, said, first respectfully taking out his pocket handkerchief, as if it really did represent my aunt, most wonderful woman in the world, Trotwood. Why has she done nothing to set things right? Too delicate and difficult a subject for such interference, I replied. Fine scholar, said Mr. Dick, touching me with his finger. Why has he done nothing? For the same reason, I returned. Then, I have got it, boy, said Mr. Dick. And he stood up before me, more exultingly than before, nodding his head, and striking himself repeatedly upon the breast, until one might have supposed that he had nearly nodded and struck all the breath out of his body. A poor fellow with a craze, sir, said Mr. Dick. A simpleton, a weak-minded person, present company, you know, striking himself again, may do what wonderful people may not do. I'll bring them together, boy. I'll try. They'll not blame me. They'll not object to me. They'll not mind what I do, if it's wrong. I'm only Mr. Dick. And who minds Dick? Dick's nobody. Woo! He blew a slight, contemptuous breath, as if he blew himself away. It was fortunate he had proceeded so far with his mystery, for we heard the coach stop at the little garden gate, which brought my aunt and Dora home. Not a word, boy, he pursued in a whisper. Leave all the blame with Dick, simple Dick, mad Dick. I have been thinking, sir, for some time, that I was getting it, and now I have got it. After what you have said to me, I am sure I have got it. All right. Not another word did Mr. Dick utter on the subject, but he made a very telegraph of himself for the next half hour, to the great disturbance of my aunt's mind, to enjoin inviolable secrecy on me. To my surprise, I heard no more about it for some 2 or 3 weeks, though I was sufficiently interested in the result of his endeavors. Descrying a strange gleam of good sense, I say nothing of good feeling, for that he always exhibited, in the conclusion to which he had come. At last I began to believe that, in the flighty and unsettled state of his mind, he had either forgotten his intention or abandoned it. One fair evening, when Dora was not inclined to go out, my aunt and I strolled up to the doctor's cottage. It was autumn, when there were no debates to vex the evening air, and I remember how the leaves smelt like our garden at Blunderstone as we trod them underfoot, and how the old, unhappy feeling seemed to go by on the sighing wind. It was twilight when we reached the cottage. Mrs. Strong was just coming out of the garden, where Mr. Dick yet lingered, busy with his knife, helping the gardener to point some stakes. The doctor was engaged with someone in his study, but the visitor would be gone directly, Mrs. Strong said, and begged us to remain and see him. We went into the drawing room with her, and sat down by the darkening window. There was never any ceremony about the visits of such old friends and neighbours as we would. We had not sat here many minutes, when Mrs. Markleham, who usually contrived to be in a fuss about something, came bustling in, with her newspaper in her hand, and said, out of breath, "My goodness gracious, Annie, why didn't you tell me there was someone in the study?" "My dear mamma," she quietly returned, "how could I know that you desired the information?" "Desired the information," said Mrs. Markleham, sinking on the sofa. "I never had such a turn in all my life." "Have you been to the study, then, mamma?" asked Annie. "Been to the study, my dear," she returned emphatically. "Indeed I have. I came upon the amiable creature, if you'll imagine my feelings, Miss Trotwood, and David, in the act of making his will." Her daughter looked round from the window quickly. "In the act, my dear Annie," repeated Mrs. Markleham, spreading the newspaper on her lap like a tablecloth, and patting her hands upon it, "of making his last will and testament. The foresight and affection of the dear. I must tell you how it was. I really must, in justice to the darling, for he is nothing less, tell you how it was. Perhaps you know, Miss Trotwood, that there is never a candle lighted in this house, until one's eyes are literally falling out of one's head with being stretched to read the paper, and that there is not a chair in this house in which a paper can be what I call read, except one in the study. This took me to the study, where I saw a light. I opened the door. In company with the dear doctor were 2 professional people, evidently connected with the law, and they were all 3 standing at the table, the darling doctor pen in hand. "This simply expresses then," said the doctor, "Annie, my love, attend to the very words. This simply expresses then, gentlemen, the confidence I have in Mrs. Strong, and gives her all unconditionally." One of the professional people replied, "And gives her all unconditionally." Upon that, with the natural feelings of a mother, I said, "Good God, I beg your pardon," fell over the doorstep, and came away through the little back passage where the pantry is. Mrs. Strong opened the window, and went out into the veranda, where she stood leaning against a pillar. "But now isn't it, Miss Trotwood, isn't it, David, invigorating?" said Mrs. Markleham, mechanically following her with her eyes. "To find a man at Dr. Strong's time of life, with the strength of mind to do this kind of thing? It only shows how right I was," I said to Annie, when Dr. Strong paid a very flattering visit to myself, and made her the subject of a declaration and an offer. I said, "My dear, there is no doubt whatever, in my opinion, with reference to a suitable provision for you, that Dr. Strong will do more than he binds himself to do." Here the bell rang, and we heard the sound of the visitors' feet as they went out. "It's all over, no doubt," said the old soldier, after listening. "The dear creature has signed, sealed, and delivered, and his mind's at rest. Well, it may be. What a mind! Annie, my love, I am going to the study with my paper, for I am a poor creature without news. Miss Trotwood, David, pray come and see the doctor." I was conscious of Mr. Dick standing in the shadow of the room, shutting up his knife, when we accompanied her to the study, and of my aunt's rubbing her nose violently, by the way, as a mild vent for her intolerance of our military friend, but who got first into the study, or how Mrs. Markleham settled herself in a moment in her easy chair, or how my aunt and I came to be left together near the door, unless her eyes were quicker than mine, and she held me back, I have forgotten, if I ever knew. But this I know, that we saw the doctor before he saw us, sitting at his table, among the folio volumes in which he delighted, resting his head calmly on his hand. That, in the same moment, we saw Mrs. Strong glide in, pale and trembling. That Mr. Dick supported her on his arm. That he laid his other hand upon the doctor's arm, causing him to look up with an abstracted air. That, as the doctor moved his head, his wife dropped down on one knee at his feet, and, with her hands imploringly lifted, fixed upon his face the memorable look I had never forgotten. That at this sight Mrs. Markleham dropped the newspaper, and stared more like a figurehead intended for a ship to be called the Astonishment, than anything else I can think of. The gentleness of the doctor's manner and surprise, the dignity that mingled with the supplicating attitude of his wife, the amiable concern of Mr. Dick, and the earnestness with which my aunt said to herself, "That man mad," triumphantly expressive of the misery from which she had saved him. I see and hear, rather than remember, as I write about it. "Doctor," said Mr. Dick, "what is it that's amiss? Look here." "Annie," cried the doctor, "not at my feet, my dear." "Yes," she said. "I beg and pray that no one will leave the room. Oh, my husband and father, break this long silence. Let us both know what it is that has come between us." Mrs. Markleham, by this time recovering the power of speech, and seeming to swell with family pride and motherly indignation, here exclaimed, "Annie, get up immediately, and don't disgrace everybody belonging to you by humbling yourself like that, unless you wish to see me go out of my mind on the spot." "Mamma," returned Annie, "waste no words on me, for my appeal is to my husband, and even you are nothing here." "Nothing!" exclaimed Mrs. Markleham. "Me, nothing! The child has taken leave of her senses. Please to get me a glass of water." I was too attentive to the doctor and his wife, to give any heed to this request, and it made no impression on anybody else, so Mrs. Markleham panted, stared, and fanned herself. "Annie," said the doctor, tenderly taking her in his hands. "My dear, if any unavoidable change has come, in the sequence of time, upon our married life, you are not to blame. The fault is mine, and only mine. There is no change in my affection, admiration, and respect. I wish to make you happy. I truly love and honor you. Rise, Annie, pray." But she did not rise. After looking at him for a little while, she sank down closer to him, laid her arm across his knee, and dropping her head upon it, said, "If I have any friend here who can speak one word for me, or for my husband in this matter, if I have any friend here who can give a voice to any suspicion that my heart has sometimes whispered to me, if I have any friend here who honors my husband, or has ever cared for me, and has anything within his knowledge, no matter what it is, that may help to mediate between us, I implore that friend to speak." There was a profound silence. After a few moments of painful hesitation, I broke the silence. "Mrs. Strong," I said, "there is something within my knowledge, which I have been earnestly entreated by Dr. Strong to conceal, and have concealed until tonight. But I believe the time has come when it would be mistaken faith and delicacy to conceal it any longer, and when your appeal absolves me from his injunction." She turned her face towards me for a moment, and I knew that I was right. I could not have resisted its entreaty, if the assurance that it gave me had been less convincing. "Our future peace," she said, "may be in your hands. I trust it confidently to your not suppressing anything. I know beforehand that nothing you, or anyone, can tell me, will show my husband's noble heart in any other light than one. Howsoever it may seem to you to touch me, disregard that. I will speak for myself, before him, and before God afterwards." Thus earnestly besought, I made no reference to the doctor for his permission, but, without any other compromise of the truth than a little softening of the coarseness of Uriah Heep, related plainly what had passed in that same room that night. The staring of Mrs. Markleham during the whole narration, and the shrill, sharp interjections with which she occasionally interrupted it, defy description. When I had finished, Annie remained, for some few moments, silent, with her head bent down, as I have described. Then, she took the doctor's hand. He was sitting in the same attitude as when we had entered the room, and pressed it to her breast, and kissed it. Mr. Dick softly raised her, and she stood, when she began to speak, leaning on him, and looking down upon her husband, from whom she never turned her eyes. "All that has ever been in my mind, since I was married," she said in a low, submissive, tender voice, "I will lay bare before you. I could not live and have one reservation, knowing what I know now." "Nay, Annie," said the doctor, mildly, "I have never doubted you, my child. There is no need. Indeed there is no need, my dear." "There is great need," she answered, in the same way, "that I should open my whole heart before the soul of generosity and truth, whom, year by year, and day by day, I have loved and venerated more and more, as heaven knows." "Really," interrupted Mrs. Markleham, "if I have any discretion at all, which you haven't, you marplot," observed my aunt, in an indignant whisper, "I must be permitted to observe that it cannot be requisite to enter into these details. No one but my husband can judge of that, mamma," said Annie without removing her eyes from his face. and he will hear me. If I say anything to give you pain, Mamma, forgive me. I have borne pain first, often, and long, myself. Upon my word, gasped Mrs. Markleham. When I was very young, said Annie, quite a little child, my first associations with knowledge of any kind were inseparable from a patient friend and teacher, the friend of my dead father, who was always dear to me. I can remember nothing that I know, without remembering him. He stored my mind with its first treasures, and stamped his character upon them all. They never could have been, I think, as good as they have been to me, if I had taken them from any other hands. Makes her mother nothing, exclaimed Mrs. Markleham. Not so, Mamma, said Annie, but I make him what he was. I must do that. As I grew up, he occupied the same place still. I was proud of his interest, deeply, fondly, gratefully attached to him. I looked up to him. I can hardly describe how, as a father, as a guide, as one whose praise was different from all other praise, as one in whom I could have trusted and confided, if I had doubted all the world. You know, Mamma, how young and inexperienced I was, when you presented him before me, of a sudden, as a lover. I have mentioned the fact 50 times at least, to everybody here, said Mrs. Markleham. Then hold your tongue, for the Lord's sake, and don't mention it any more, muttered my aunt. It was so great a change, so great a loss, I felt it, at first, said Annie, still preserving the same look and tone, that I was agitated and distressed. I was but a girl, and when so great a change came in the character in which I had so long looked up to him, I think I was sorry. But nothing could have made him what he used to be again, and I was proud that he should think me so worthy, and we were married. At St. Alphege, Canterbury, observed Mrs. Markleham. Confound the woman, said my aunt. She won't be quiet. I never thought, proceeded Annie, with a heightened colour, of any worldly gain that my husband would bring to me. My young heart had no room in its homage for any such poor reference. Mamma, forgive me when I say that it was you who first presented to my mind the thought that anyone could wrong me, and wrong him, by such a cruel suspicion. Me, cried Mrs. Markleham. Ah, you, to be sure, observed my aunt, and you can't fan it away, my military friend. It was the first unhappiness of my new life, said Annie. It was the first occasion of every unhappy moment I have known. These moments have been more, of late, than I can count, but not, my generous husband. Not for the reason you suppose, for in my heart there is not a thought, a recollection, or a hope, that any power could separate from you. She raised her eyes, and clasped her hands, and looked as beautiful and true, I thought, as any spirit. The doctor looked on her, henceforth, as steadfastly as she on him. Mamma is blameless, she went on, of having ever urged you for herself, and she is blameless in intention every way, I am sure. But when I saw how many importunate claims were pressed upon you in my name, how you were traded on in my name, how generous you were, and how Mr. Wickfield, who had your welfare very much at heart, resented it, the first sense of my exposure to the mean suspicion that my tenderness was bought and sold to you, of all men on earth, fell upon me like unmerited disgrace, in which I forced you to participate. I cannot tell you what it was. Mamma cannot imagine what it was, to have this dread and trouble always on my mind, yet know in my own soul that on my marriage day I crown the love and honor of my life. A specimen of the thanks one gets, cried Mrs. Markleham, in tears, for taking care of one's family. I wish I was a Turk. I wish you were, with all my heart, and in your native country, said my aunt. It was at that time that Mamma was most solicitous about my cousin Malden. I had liked him, she spoke softly, but without any hesitation, very much. We had been little lovers once. If circumstances had not happened otherwise, I might have come to persuade myself that I really loved him, and might have married him, and been most wretched. There can be no disparity in marriage like unsuitability of mind and purpose. I pondered on those words, even while I was studiously attending to what followed, as if they had some particular interest, or some strange application that I could not divine. There can be no disparity in marriage like unsuitability of mind and purpose. No disparity in marriage like unsuitability of mind and purpose. There is nothing, said Annie, that we have in common. I have long found that there is nothing. If I were thankful to my husband for no more, instead of for so much, I should be thankful to him for having saved me from the first mistaken impulse of my undisciplined heart. She stood quite still before the doctor, and spoke with an earnestness that thrilled me. Yet her voice was just as quiet as before when he was waiting to be the object of your munificence, so freely bestowed for my sake, and when I was unhappy in the mercenary shape I was made to wear, I thought it would have become him better to have worked his own way on. I thought that if I had been he, I would have tried to do it, at the cost of almost any hardship. But I thought no worse of him, until the night of his departure for India. That night I knew he had a false and thankless heart. I saw a double meaning, then, in Mr. Wickfield's scrutiny of me. I perceived, for the first time, the dark suspicion that shadowed my life. Suspicion, Annie, said the doctor. No, no, no. In your mind there was none, I know, my husband, she returned. And when I came to you, that night, to lay down all my load of shame and grief, and knew that I had to tell that, underneath your roof, one of my own kindred, to whom you had been a benefactor, for the love of me, had spoken to me words that should have found no utterance. Even if I had been the weak and mercenary wretch he thought me, my mind revolted from the taint the very tale conveyed. It died upon my lips, and from that hour till now has never passed them. Mrs. Markleham, with a short groan, leaned back in her easy-chair, and retired behind her fan, as if she were never coming out any more. I have never, but in your presence, interchanged a word with him from that time. Then, only when it has been necessary for the avoidance of this explanation. Years have passed since he knew, from me, what his situation here was. The kindnesses you have secretly done for his advancement, and then disclosed to me, for my surprise and pleasure, have been, you will believe, but aggravations of the unhappiness and burden of my secret. She sunk down gently at the doctor's feet, though he did his utmost to prevent her, and said, looking up, tearfully, into his face, "Do not speak to me yet. Let me say a little more. Right or wrong, if this were to be done again, I think I should do just the same. You never can know what it was to be devoted to you, with those old associations, to find that anyone could be so hard as to suppose that the truth of my heart was bartered away, and to be surrounded by appearances confirming that belief. I was very young, and had no adviser. Between Mamma and me, In all relating to you, there was a wide division. If I shrunk into myself, hiding the disrespect I had undergone, it was because I honored you so much, and so much wished that you should honor me. Annie, my pure heart, said the doctor, my dear girl. A little more. A very few words more. I used to think there were so many whom you might have married, who would not have brought such charge and trouble on you, and who would have made your home a worthier home. I used to be afraid that I had better have remained your pupil, and almost your child. I used to fear that I was so unsuited to your learning and wisdom. If all this made me shrink within myself, as indeed it did, when I had that to tell, it was still because I honored you so much, and hoped that you might one day honor me. That day has shone this long time, Annie, said the doctor, and can have but one long night, my dear. Another word. I afterwards meant, steadfastly meant, and purposed to myself, to bear the whole weight of knowing the unworthiness of one to whom you had been so good. And now a last word, dearest and best of friends. The cause of the late change in you, which I have seen with so much pain and sorrow, and have sometimes referred to my old apprehension, at other times to lingering suppositions nearer to the truth, has been made clear tonight, and by an accident I have also come to know, tonight, the full measure of your noble trust in me, even under that mistake. I do not hope that any love and duty I may render in return will ever make me worthy of your priceless confidence, but with all this knowledge fresh upon me, I can lift my eyes to this dear face, revered as a father's, loved as a husband's, sacred to me in my childhood as a friend's, and solemnly declare that in my lightest thought I have never wronged you, never wavered in the love and the fidelity I owe you. She had her arms around the doctor's neck, and he leant his head down over her, mingling his grey hair with her dark brown tresses. Oh, hold me to your heart, my husband. Never cast me out. Do not think or speak of disparity between us, for there is none, except in all my many imperfections. Every succeeding year I have known this better, as I have esteemed you more and more. Oh, take me to your heart, my husband, for my love was founded on a rock, and it endures. In the silence that ensued, my aunt walked gravely up to Mr. Dick, without at all hurrying herself, and gave him a hug and a sounding kiss. And it was very fortunate, with a view to his credit, that she did so, for I am confident that I detected him at that moment in the act of making preparations to stand on one leg, as an appropriate expression of delight. You are a very remarkable man, Dick, said my aunt, with an air of unqualified approbation, and never pretend to be anything else, for I know better. With that, my aunt pulled him by the sleeve, and nodded to me, and we three stole quietly out of the room, and came away. That's a settler for our military friend, at any rate, said my aunt, on the way home. I should sleep the better for that, if there was nothing else to be glad of. She was quite overcome, I am afraid, said Mr. Dick, with great commiseration. What? Did you ever see a crocodile overcome? Inquired my aunt. I don't think I ever saw a crocodile, returned Mr. Dick, mildly. There never would have been anything the matter, if it hadn't been for that old animal, said my aunt, with strong emphasis. It's very much to be wished that some mothers would leave their daughters alone after marriage, and not be so violently affectionate. They seem to think the only return that can be made them for bringing an unfortunate young woman into the world, God bless my soul, as if she asked to be brought, or wanted to come, is full liberty to worry her out of it again. "What are you thinking of, Trot?" I was thinking of all that had been said. My mind was still running on some of the expressions used. There can be no disparity in marriage like unsuitability of mind and purpose. The first mistaken impulse of an undisciplined heart. My love was founded on a rock. But we were at home, and the trodden leaves were lying underfoot, and the autumn wind was blowing. David Copperfield, chapter 46. Intelligence. I must have been married, if I may trust my imperfect memory for dates, about a year or so, when one evening, as I was returning from a solitary walk, thinking of the book I was then writing, for my success had steadily increased with my steady application, and I was engaged at that time upon my first work of fiction, I came past Mrs. Steerforth's house. I had often passed it before, during my residence in that neighborhood, though never when I could choose another road. Howbeit, it did sometimes happen that it was not easy to find another, without making a long circuit, and so I had passed that way. Upon the whole, pretty often that I had never done more than glance at the house, as I went by with a quickened step. It had been uniformly gloomy and dull. None of the best rooms abutted on the road, and the narrow, heavily framed old-fashioned windows, never cheerful under any circumstances, looked very dismal, close shut, and with their blinds always drawn down. There was a covered way across a little paved court, to an entrance that was never used, and there was one round staircase window, at odds with all the rest, and the only one unshaded by a blind, which had the same unoccupied blank look. I do not remember that I ever saw a light in all the house. If I had been a casual passerby, I should have probably supposed that some childless person lay dead in it. If I had happily possessed no knowledge of the place, and had seen it often in that changeless state, I should have pleased my fancy with many ingenious speculations. I dare say yes it was, I thought as little of it as I might. But my mind could not go by it and leave it, as my body did, and it usually awakened a long train of meditations. Coming before me, on this particular evening that I mention, mingled with the childish recollections and later fancies, the ghosts of half-formed hopes, the broken shadows of disappointments dimly seen and understood, the blending of experience and imagination, incidental to the occupation with which my thoughts had been busy, it was more than commonly suggestive. I fell into a brown study as I walked on, and a voice at my side made me start. That it was a woman's voice, too. I was not long in recollecting Mrs. Steerforth's little parlour-maid, who had formerly worn blue ribbons in her cap. She had taken them out now, to adapt herself, I suppose, to the altered character of the house, and wore but one or two disconsolate bows of sober brown. If you please, sir, would you have the goodness to walk in, and speak to Miss Dartle? Has Miss Dartle sent you for me? I inquired. Not tonight, sir, but it's just the same. Miss Dartle saw you pass a night or two ago, and I was to sit at work on the staircase, and when I saw you pass again, to ask you to step in and speak to her. I turned back, and inquired of my conductor, as we went along, how Mrs. Steerforth was. She said her lady was but poorly, and kept her own room a good deal. When we arrived at the house, I was directed to Miss Dartle in the garden, and left to make my presence known to her myself. She was sitting on a seat at one end of a kind of terrace, overlooking the great city. It was a sombre evening, with a lurid light in the sky, and as I saw the prospect scowling in the distance, with here and there some larger objects starting up into the sullen glare, I fancied it was no inapt companion to the memory of this fierce woman. She saw me as I advanced, and rose for a moment to receive me. I thought her, then, still more colourless and thin than when I had seen her last, the flashing eyes still brighter, and the scar still plainer. Our meeting was not cordial. We had parted angrily on the last occasion, and there was an air of disdain about her, which she took no pains to conceal. "I am told you wish to speak to me, Miss Dartle," said I, standing near her, with my hand upon the back of the seat, and declining her gesture of invitation to sit down. "If you please," said she. "Pray, has this girl been found?" "No, and yet she has run away." I saw her thin lips working while she looked at me, as if they were eager to load her with reproaches. "Run away?" I repeated. "Yes. From him," she said, with a laugh. "If she is not found, perhaps she never will be found. She may be dead." The vaunting cruelty with which she met my glance, I never saw expressed in any other face that ever I have seen. "To wish her dead," said I, "may be the kindest wish that one of her own sex could bestow upon her. I am glad that time has softened you so much, Miss Dartle." She condescended to make no reply, but, turning on me with another scornful laugh, said, "The friends of this excellent and much injured young lady are friends of yours. You are their champion, and assert their rights. Do you wish to know what is known of her?" "Yes," said I. She rose with an ill-favoured smile, and taking a few steps towards a wall of holly that was near at hand, dividing the lawn from a kitchen garden, said, in a louder voice, "Come here." As if she were calling to some unclean beast. "You will restrain any demonstrative championship or vengeance in this place, of course, Mr. Copperfield," said she, looking over her shoulder at me with the same expression. I inclined my head, without knowing what she meant, and she said, "Come here," again, and returned, followed by the respectable Mr. Latimer, who, with undiminished respectability, made me a bow, and took up his position behind her. The air of wicked grace, of triumph, in which, strange to say, there was yet something feminine and alluring, with which she reclined upon the seat between us, and looked at me, was worthy of a cruel princess in a legend. "Now," said she, imperiously, without glancing at him, and touching the old wound as it throbbed, perhaps, in this instance, with pleasure rather than pain, "tell Mr. Copperfield about the flight." "Mr. James and myself, Don't address yourself to me," she interrupted with a frown. "Mr. James and myself, sir, nor to me, if you please," said I. Mr. Latimer, without being at all discomposed, signified by a slight obeisance, that anything that was most agreeable to us was most agreeable to him, and began again. "Mr. James and myself have been abroad with the young woman, ever since she left Yarmouth under Mr. James's protection. We have been in a variety of places, and seen a deal of foreign country. We have been in France, Switzerland, Italy, in fact, almost all parts." He looked at the back of the seat, as if he were addressing himself to that, and softly played upon it with his hands, as if he were striking chords upon a dumb piano. Mr. James took quite uncommonly to the young woman, and was more settled, for a length of time, than I have known him to be since I have been in his service. The young woman was very improvable, and spoke the languages, and wouldn't have been known for the same country person. I noticed that she was much admired wherever we went. Miss Dartle put her hand upon her side. I saw him steal a glance at her, and slightly smile to himself. Very much admired, indeed, the young woman was. What with her dress, what with the air and sun, what with being made so much of, what with this, that, and the other, her merits really attracted general notice. He made a short pause. Her eyes wandered restlessly over the distant prospect, and she bit her nether lip to stop that busy mouth, taking his hands from the seat, and placing one of them within the other. As he settled himself on one leg, Mr. Littimer proceeded, with his eyes cast down, and his respectable head a little advanced, and a little on one side. The young woman went on in this manner for some time, being occasionally low in her spirits, until I think she began to weary Mr. James by giving way to her low spirits and tempers of that kind, and things were not so comfortable. Mr. James, he began to be restless again. The more restless he got, the worse she got, and I must say, for myself, that I had a very difficult time of it indeed between the two. Still matters were patched up here, and made good there, over and over again, and altogether lasted, I am sure, for a longer time than anybody could have expected. Recalling her eyes from the distance, she looked at me again now, with her former air. Mr. Littimer, clearing his throat behind his hand with a respectable short cough, changed legs, and went on, at last, when there had been, upon the whole, a good many words and reproaches. Mr. James, he set off one morning, from the neighborhood of Naples, where we had a villa, the young woman being very partial to the sea, and, under pretense of coming back in a day or so, left it in charge with me to break it out, that, for the general happiness of all concerned, he was, here an interruption of the short cough, gone. But Mr. James, I must say, certainly did behave extremely honorable, for he proposed that the young woman should marry a very respectable person, who was fully prepared to overlook the past, and who was, at least, as good as anybody the young woman could have aspired to in a regular way, her connections being very common. He changed legs again, and wetted his lips. I was convinced that the scoundrel spoke of himself, and I saw my conviction reflected in Miss Dartle's face. This I also had it in charge to communicate. I was willing to do anything to relieve Mr. James from his difficulty, and to restore harmony between himself and an affectionate parent, who has undergone so much on his account. Therefore I undertook the commission. The young woman's violence when she came to, after I broke the fact of his departure, was beyond all expectations. She was quite mad, and had to be held by force, or, if she couldn't have got to a knife, or got to the sea, she'd have beaten her head against the marble floor. Miss Dartle, leaning back upon the seat, with a light of exultation in her face, seemed almost to caress the sounds this fellow had uttered. But when I came to the second part of what had been entrusted to me, said Mr. Littimer, rubbing his hands uneasily, which anybody might have supposed would have been, at all events, appreciated as a kind intention, then the young woman came out in her true colors. A more outrageous person I never did see. Her conduct was surprisingly bad. She had no more gratitude, no more feeling, no more patience, no more reason in her, than a stock or a stone. If I hadn't been upon my guard, I am convinced she would have had my blood. I think the better of her for it, said I, indignantly. Mr. Littimer bent his head, as much as to say, "Indeed, sir? But you're young," and resumed his narrative. It was necessary, in short, for a time, to take away everything nigh her, that she could do herself, or anybody else, an injury with, and to shut her up close. Notwithstanding which, she got out in the night, forced the lattice of a window that I had nailed up myself, dropped on a vine that was trailed below, and never has been seen or heard of, to my knowledge, since. She is dead, perhaps, said Miss Dartle, with a smile, as if she could have spurned the body of the ruined girl. She may have drowned herself, miss, returned Mr. Latimer, catching at an excuse for addressing himself to somebody. It's very possible. Or, she may have had assistance from the boatmen, and the boatmen's wives and children. Being given to low company, she was very much in the habit of talking to them on the beach, Miss Dartle, and sitting by their boats. I have known her do it, when Mr. James has been away, whole days. Mr. James was far from pleased to find out, once, that she had told the children she was a boatman's daughter, and that in her own country, long ago, she had roamed about the beach, like them. Oh, Emily! Unhappy beauty! What a picture rose before me of her sitting on the far-off shore, among the children like herself when she was innocent, listening to little voices such as might have called her mother had she been a poor man's wife, and to the great voice of the sea, with its eternal nevermore. When it was clear that nothing could be done, Miss Dartle, did I tell you not to speak to me? She said, with stern contempt. You spoke to me, miss, he replied. I beg your pardon, but it is my service to obey. Do your service, she returned. Finish your story, and go. When it was clear, he said, with infinite respectability and an obedient bow, that she was not to be found, I went to Mr. James, at the place where it had been agreed that I should write to him, and informed him of what had occurred. Words passed between us in consequence, and I felt it due to my character to leave him. I could bear, and I have borne, a great deal from Mr. James, but he insulted me too far. He hurt me. Knowing the unfortunate difference between himself and his mother, and what her anxiety of mind was likely to be, I took the liberty of coming home to England, and relating, for money which I paid him, said Miss Dartle to me, just so, and relating what I knew. I am not aware, said Mr. Latimer, after a moment's reflection, that there is anything else. I am at present out of employment, and should be happy to meet with a respectable situation. Miss Dartle glanced at me, as though she would inquire if there were anything that I desired to ask. As there was something which had occurred to my mind, I said in reply I could wish to know from this creature. I could not bring myself to utter any more conciliatory word, whether they intercepted a letter that was written to her from home, or whether he supposes that she received it. He remained calm and silent, with his eyes fixed on the ground, and the tip of every finger of his right hand delicately poised against the tip of every finger of his left. Miss Dartle turned her head disdainfully towards him. I beg your pardon, miss, he said, awakening from his abstraction. But, however submissive to you, I have my position. Though a servant, Mr. Copperfield and you, miss, are different people. If Mr. Copperfield wishes to know anything from me, I take the liberty of reminding Mr. Copperfield that he can put a question to me. I have a character to maintain. After a momentary struggle with myself, I turned my eyes upon him, and said, You have heard my question. Consider it addressed to yourself, if you choose. What answer do you make? Sir, he rejoined, with an occasional separation and reunion of those delicate tips, my answer must be qualified, because, to betray Mr. James's confidence to his mother, and to betray it to you, are two different actions. It is not probable, I consider, that Mr. James would encourage the receipt of letters likely to increase low spirits and unpleasantness. But further than that, sir, I should wish to avoid going. Is that all? Inquired Miss Dartle of me. That I indicated that I had nothing more to say. Except, I added, as I saw him moving off, that I understand this fellow's part in the wicked story, and that, as I shall make it known to the honest man who has been her father from her childhood, I would recommend him to avoid going too much into public. He had stopped the moment I began, and had listened with his usual repose of manner. Thank you, sir. But you'll excuse me if I say, sir, that there are neither slaves nor slave drivers in this country, and that people are not allowed to take the law into their own hands. If they do, it is more to their own peril, I believe, than to other people's. Consequently speaking, I am not at all afraid of going wherever I may wish, sir. With that, he made a polite bow, and, with another to Miss Dartle, went away through the arch in the wall of holly by which he had come. Miss Dartle and I regarded each other for a little while in silence, her manner being exactly what it was when she had produced the man. He says besides, she observed, with a slow curling of her lip, that his master, as he hears, is coasting Spain, and this done, is a way to gratify his seafaring tastes till he is weary. But this is of no interest to you. Between these two proud persons, mother and son, there is a wider breach than before, and little hope of its healing, for they are one at heart, and time makes each more obstinate and imperious. Neither is this of any interest to you, but it introduces what I wish to say. This devil whom you make an angel of, I mean this low girl whom he picked out of the tide mud, with her black eyes full upon me, and her passionate finger up, may be alive, for I believe some common things are hard to die. If she is, you will desire to have a pearl of such price found and taken care of. We desire that, too, that he may not by any chance be made her prey again. So far, we are united in one interest, and that is why I, who would do her any mischief that so coarse a wretch is capable of feeling, have sent for you to hear what you have heard. I saw, by the change in her face, that someone was advancing behind me. It was Mrs. Steerforth, who gave me her hand more coldly than of yore, and with an augmentation of her former stateliness of manner, but still, I perceived, and I was touched by it, with an ineffaceable remembrance of my old love for her son. She was greatly altered. Her fine figure was far less upright, her handsome face was deeply marked, and her hair was almost white. But when she sat down on the seat, she was a handsome lady still, and well I knew the bright eye with its lofty look, that had been a light in my very dreams at school. Is Mr. Copperfield informed of everything, Rosa? Yes. And has he heard Littimer himself? Yes. I have told him why you wished it. You are a good girl. I have had some slight correspondence with your former friend, sir, addressing me, but it has not restored his sense of duty or natural obligation. Therefore I have no other object in this than what Rosa has mentioned. If, by the course which may relieve the mind of the decent man you brought here, for whom I am sorry, I can say no more, my son may be saved from again falling into the snares of a designing enemy, well. She drew herself up, and sat looking straight before her, far away. Madam, I said respectfully, I understand. I assure you I am in no danger of putting any strained construction on your motives. But I must say, even to you, having known this injured family from childhood, that if you suppose the girl, so deeply wronged, has not been cruelly deluded, and would not rather die 100 deaths than take a cup of water from your son's hand now, you cherish a terrible mistake." "Well, Rosa, well," said Mrs. Steerforth, as the other was about to interpose, "it is no matter. Let it be. You are married, sir, I am told." I answered that I had been some time married, and are doing well. "I hear little in the quiet life I lead, but I understand you are beginning to be famous." "I have been very fortunate," I said, "and find my name connected with some praise." "You have no mother." In a softened voice, "No, it is a pity," she returned. "She would have been proud of you. Good night." I took the hand she held out with a dignified, unbending air, and it was as calm in mine as if her breast had been at peace. Her pride could still its very pulses, it appeared, and draw the placid veil before her face, through which she sat looking straight before her on the far distance. As I moved away from them along the terrace, I could not help observing how steadily they both sat gazing on the prospect, and how it thickened and closed around them. Here and there, some early lamps were seen to twinkle in the distant city, and in the eastern quarter of the sky the lurid light still hovered. But, from the greater part of the broad valley interposed, a mist was rising like a sea, which, mingling with the darkness, made it seem as if the gathering waters would encompass them. I have reason to remember this, and think of it with awe, for before I looked upon those two again, a stormy sea had risen to their feet. Reflecting on what had been thus told me, I felt it right that it should be communicated to Mr. Peggotty. On the following evening I went into London in quest of him. He was always wandering about from place to place, with his one object of recovering his niece before him, but was more in London than elsewhere. Often and often, now, had I seen him in the dead of night passing along the streets, searching, among the few who loitered out of doors at those untimely hours, for what he dreaded to find. He kept a lodging over the little chandler's shop in Hungerford Market, which I have had occasion to mention more than once, and from which he first went forth upon his errand of mercy. Hither I directed my walk. On making inquiry for him, I learned from the people of the house that he had not gone out yet, and I should find him in his room upstairs. He was sitting reading by a window in which he kept a few plants. The room was very neat and orderly. I saw in a moment that it was always kept prepared for her reception, and that he never went out but he thought it possible he might bring her home. He had not heard my tap at the door, and only raised his eyes when I laid my hand upon his shoulder. "Massa Davy." "Then key, sir." "Then key hearty, for this visit. Sit ye down." "You're kindly welcome, sir." "Mr. Peggotty," said I, taking the chair he handed me, "don't expect much. I have heard some news of Emily." He put his hand, in a nervous manner, on his mouth, and turned pale, as he fixed his eyes on mine. "It gives no clue to where she is, but she is not with him." He sat down, looking intently at me, and listened in profound silence to all I had to tell. I well remember the sense of dignity, beauty even, with which the patient gravity of his face impressed me, when, having gradually removed his eyes from mine, he sat looking downward, leaning his forehead on his hand. He offered no interruption, but remained throughout perfectly still. He seemed to pursue her figure through the narrative, and to let every other shape go by him, as if it were nothing. When I had done, he shaded his face, and continued silent. I looked out of the window for a little while, and occupied myself with the plants. "How do you fare to feel about it, Master Davy?" he inquired at length. "I think that she is living," I replied. "I don't know. Maybe the first shock was too rough, and in the wildness of her art, that there blue water as she used to speak on. Could she have thought that so many year, because it was to be her grave?" He said this, musing, in a low, frightened voice, and walked across the little room. "And yet," he added, "Master Davy, I have felt so sure as she was living. I have knowed, awake and sleeping, as it was so true that I should find her. I have been so led on by it, and held up by it, that I don't believe I can have been deceived. No, Emily's alive." He put his hand down firmly on the table, and set his sunburnt face into a resolute expression. "My niece, Emily, is alive, sir," he said, steadfastly. "I don't know where it comes from, or how it is, but I am told as she's alive." He looked almost like a man inspired, as he said it. I waited for a few moments, until he could give me his undivided attention, and then proceeded to explain the precaution that, it had occurred to me last night, it would be wise to take. "Now, my dear friend," I began, then key, kind sir," he said, grasping my hand in both of his, "if she should make her way to London, which is likely, for where could she lose herself so readily as in this vast city, and what would she wish to do, but lose and hide herself, if she does not go home?" "And she won't go home," he interposed, shaking his head mournfully. "If she had left of her own accord, she might, not as it was, sir." "If she should come here," said I believe there is one person here more likely to discover her than any other in the world. Do you remember? Hear what I say, with fortitude. Think of your great object. Do you remember Martha, of our town?" I needed no other answer than his face. "Do you know that she is in London?" "I have seen her in the streets," he answered, with a shiver. "But you don't know," said I, "that Emily was charitable to her, with Ham's help, long before she fled from home. Nor that, when we met one night, and spoke together in the room yonder, over the way, she listened at the door." "Master Davy," he replied in astonishment, "that night when it snewed so hard." "That night. I have never seen her since. I went back, after parting from you, to speak to her, but she was gone. I was unwilling to mention her to you then, and I am now, but she is the person of whom I speak, and with whom I think we should communicate. Do you understand?" "Too well, sir," he replied. We had sunk our voices, almost to a whisper, and continued to speak in that tone. "You say you have seen her. Do you think that you could find her?" I could only hope to do so by chance. "I think, Master Davy, I know where to look. It is dark. Being together, shall we go out now, and try to find her tonight?" He assented, and prepared to accompany me. Without appearing to observe what he was doing, I saw how carefully he adjusted the little room, put a candle ready and the means of lighting it, arranged the bed, and finally took out of a drawer one of her dresses. I remember to have seen her wear it, neatly folded with some other garments, and a bonnet, which he placed upon a chair. He made no allusion to these clothes, neither did I. There they had been waiting for her, many and many a night. "No doubt the time was, Master Davy," he said, as we came downstairs, "when I thought this girl, Martha, almost like the dirt underneath my Emily's feet. God forgive me, there is a difference now. As we went along, partly to hold him in conversation, and partly to satisfy myself, I asked him about Ham. He said, almost in the same words as formerly, that Ham was just the same, wearing away his life with kinder no care no how for tea, but never murmuring, and liked by all. I asked him what he thought Ham's state of mind was, in reference to the cause of their misfortunes, whether he believed it was dangerous, what he supposed, for example, Ham would do if he and Steerforth ever should encounter. I don't know, sir, he replied. I have thought of it oftentimes, but I can't arise myself of it, no matters. I recalled to his remembrance the morning after her departure, when we were all three on the beach. Do you recollect, said I, a certain wild way in which he looked out to sea, and spoke about the end of it? Sure I do, said he. What do you suppose he meant? Massa Davy, he replied, I've put the question to myself a morto times, and never found no answer. And there is one curious thing, that, though he is so pleasant, I wouldn't fare to feel comfortable to try and get his mind upon tea. He never said a word to me as warn't as dutiful could be, and it ain't likely as he'd begin to speak any other ways now, but it's fur from being fleet water in his mind, where them thoughts lays. It's deep, sir, and I can't see down. You are right, said I, and that has sometimes made me anxious. And me too, Massa Davy, he rejoined. Even more so, I do assure you, than his venturesome ways, though both belongs to the alteration in him. I don't know as he'd do violence under any circumstances, but I hope as them too may be kept asunders. We had come, through Temple Bar, into the city. Conversing no more now, and walking at my side, he yielded himself up to the one aim of his devoted life, and went on, with that hushed concentration of his faculties which would have made his figure solitary in a multitude. We were not far from Blackfriars Bridge, when he turned his head and pointed to a solitary female figure flitting along the opposite side of the street. I knew it, readily, to be the figure that we sought. We crossed the road, and were pressing on towards her, when it occurred to me that she might be more disposed to feel a woman's interest in the lost girl, if we spoke to her in a quieter place, aloof from the crowd, and where we should be less observed. I advised my companion, therefore, that we should not address her yet, but follow her, consulting in this, likewise, an indistinct desire I had, to know where she went. He acquiescing, we followed at a distance, never losing sight of her, but never caring to come very near, as she frequently looked about. Once, she stopped to listen to a band of music, and then we stopped too. She went on a long way. Still we went on. It was evident, from the manner in which she held her course, that she was going to some fixed destination, and this, and her keeping in the busy streets, and I suppose the strange fascination in the secrecy and mystery of so following anyone, made me adhere to my first purpose. At length she turned into a dull, dark street, where the noise and crowd were lost, and I said, we may speak to her now, and, mending our pace, we went after her. David Copperfield, Chapter 47. Martha. We were now down in Westminster. We had turned back to follow her, having encountered her coming towards us, and Westminster Abbey was the point at which she passed from the lights and noise of the leading streets. She proceeded so quickly, when she got free of the two currents of passengers setting towards and from the bridge, that, Between this and the advance she had of us when she struck off, we were in the narrow waterside street by Millbank before we came up with her. At that moment she crossed the road, as if to avoid the footsteps that she heard so close behind, and, without looking back, passed on even more rapidly. A glimpse of the river through a dull gateway, where some wagons were housed for the night, seemed to arrest my feet. I touched my companion without speaking, and we both forbore to cross after her, and both followed on that opposite side of the way, keeping as quietly as we could in the shadow of the houses, but keeping very near her. There was, and is when I write, at the end of that low-lying street, a dilapidated little wooden building, probably an obsolete old ferry house. Its position is just at that point where the street ceases, and the road begins to lie between a row of houses and the river. As soon as she came here, and saw the water, she stopped as if she had come to her destination, and presently went slowly along by the brink of the river, looking intently at it. All the way here, I had supposed that she was going to some house. Indeed, I had vaguely entertained the hope that the house might be in some way associated with the lost girl. But that one dark glimpse of the river, through the gateway, had instinctively prepared me for her going no farther. The neighborhood was a dreary one at that time, as oppressive, sad, and solitary by night as any about London. There were neither wharves nor houses on the melancholy waste of road near the great blank prison. A sluggish ditch deposited its mud at the prison walls. Coarse grass and rank weeds straggled over all the marshy land in the vicinity. In one part, carcasses of houses, inauspiciously begun and never finished, rotted away. In another, the ground was cumbered with rusty iron monsters of steam boilers, wheels, cranks, pipes, furnaces, paddles, anchors, diving bells, windmill sails, and I know not what strange objects, accumulated by some speculator, and grovelling in the dust, underneath which, having sunk into the soil of their own weight in wet weather, they had the appearance of vainly trying to hide themselves. The clash and glare of sundry fiery works upon the riverside arose by night to disturb everything except the heavy and unbroken smoke that poured out of their chimneys. Slimy gaps and causeways, winding among old wooden piles, with a sickly substance clinging to the latter, like green hair, and the rags of last year's handbills offering rewards for drowned men fluttering above high water mark, led down through the ooze and slush to the ebb tide. There was a story that one of the pits dug for the dead in the time of the Great Plague was hereabout, and a blighting influence seemed to have proceeded from it over the whole place. Or else it looked as if it had gradually decomposed into that nightmare condition, out of the overflowings of the polluted stream. Yes, if she were a part of the refuse it had cast out, and left to corruption and decay, the girl we had followed strayed down to the river's brink, and stood in the midst of this night picture, lonely and still, looking at the water. There were some boats and barges astrand in the mud, and these enabled us to come within a few yards of her without being seen. I then signed to Mr. Peggotty to remain where he was, and emerged from their shade to speak to her. I did not approach her solitary figure without trembling, for this gloomy end to her determined walk, and the way in which she stood, almost within the cavernous shadow of the iron bridge, looking at the lights crookedly reflected in the strong tide, inspired a dread within me. Did I think she was talking to herself? I am sure, although absorbed in gazing at the water, that her shawl was off her shoulders, and that she was muffling her hands in it, in an unsettled and bewildered way, more like the action of a sleepwalker than a waking person. I know, and never can, forget that there was that in her wild manner which gave me no assurance but that she would sink before my eyes, until I had her arm within my grasp. At the same moment I said, "Martha." She uttered a terrified scream, and struggled with me with such strength that I doubt if I could have held her alone. But a stronger hand than mine was laid upon her, and when she raised her frightened eyes and saw whose it was, she made but one more effort and dropped down between us. We carried her away from the water to where there were some dry stones, and there laid her down, crying and moaning. In a little while she sat among the stones, holding her wretched head with both her hands. "Oh, the river!" she cried passionately. "Oh, the river!" "Hush, hush," said I, "calm yourself." But she still repeated the same words, continually exclaiming, "Oh, the river," over and over again. "I know it's like me," she exclaimed. "I know that I belong to it. I know that it's the natural company of such as I am. It comes from country places, where there was once no harm in it, and it creeps through the dismal streets, defiled and miserable, and it goes away, like my life, to a great sea that is always troubled, and I feel that I must go with it. I have never known what despair was, except in the tone of those words. I can't keep away from it. I can't forget it. It haunts me day and night. It's the only thing in all the world that I am fit for, or that's fit for me. Oh, the dreadful river!" The thought passed through my mind that in the face of my companion, as he looked upon her without speech or motion, I might have read his niece's history if I had known nothing of it. I never saw, in any painting or reality, horror and compassion so impressively blended. He shook as if he would have fallen, and his hand, I touched it with my own, for his appearance alarmed me, was deadly cold. "She is in a state of frenzy," I whispered to him. "She will speak differently in a little time." I don't know what he would have said in answer. He made some motion with his mouth, and seemed to think he had spoken, but he had only pointed to her with his outstretched hand. A new burst of crying came upon her now, in which she once more hid her face among the stones, and lay before us, a prostrate image of humiliation and ruin. Knowing that this state must pass, before we could speak to her with any hope, I ventured to restrain him when he would have raised her, and we stood by in silence until she became more tranquil. "Martha," said I then, leaning down, and helping her to rise. She seemed to want to rise as if with the intention of going away, but she was weak, and leaned against a boat. "Do you know who this is? Who is with me?" She said faintly, "Yes." "Do you know that we have followed you a long way tonight?" She shook her head. She looked neither at him nor at me, but stood in a humble attitude, holding her bonnet and shawl in one hand, without appearing conscious of them, and pressing the other, clenched, against her forehead. "Are you composed enough," said I, "to speak on the subject which so interested you? I hope heaven may remember it. That snowy night." Her sobs broke out afresh, and she murmured some inarticulate thanks to me for not having driven her away from the door. "I want to say nothing for myself," she said, after a few moments. "I am bad, I am lost. I have no hope at all. But tell him, sir," she had shrunk away from him, "if you don't feel too hard to me to do it, that I never was in any way the cause of his misfortune." "It has never been attributed to you," I returned, earnestly responding to her earnestness. "It was you, if I don't deceive myself," she said, in a broken voice, "that came into the kitchen the night she took such pity on me, was so gentle to me, didn't shrink away from me like all the rest, and gave me such kind help. Was it you, sir?" "It was. said I. "I should have been in the river long ago," she said, glancing at it with a terrible expression. If any wrong to her had been upon my mind, I never could have kept out of it a single winter's night, if I had not been free of any share in that. "The cause of her flight is too well understood," I said. "You are innocent of any part in it. We thoroughly believe, we know." "Oh, I might have been much the better for her, if I had had a better heart," exclaimed the girl, with most forlorn regret, "for she was always good to me. She never spoke a word to me but what was pleasant and right. Is it likely I would try to make her what I am myself, knowing what I am myself so well? When I lost everything that makes life dear, the worst of all my thoughts was that I was parted forever from her." Mr. Peggotty, standing with one hand on the gunwale of the boat, and his eyes cast down, put his disengaged hand before his face, and when I heard what had happened before that snowy night, from some belonging to our town, cried Martha, "The bitterest thought in all my mind was, that the people would remember she once kept company with me, and would say I had corrupted her, when, heaven knows, I would have died to have brought back her good name." Long unused to any self-control, the piercing agony of her remorse and grief was terrible. To have died would not have been much. What can I say? "I would have lived," she cried. "I would have lived to be old, in the wretched streets, and to wander about, avoided, in the dark, and to see the day break on the ghastly line of houses, and remember how the same sun used to shine into my room, and wake me once. I would have done even that, to save her." Sinking on the stones, she took some in each hand, and clenched them up, as if she would have ground them. She writhed into some new posture constantly, stiffening her arms, twisting them before her face, as though to shut out from her eyes the little light there was, and drooping her head, as if it were heavy with insupportable recollections. "What shall I ever do?" she said, fighting thus with her despair. "How can I go on as I am, a solitary curse to myself, a living disgrace to everyone I come near?" Suddenly she turned to my companion. "Stamp upon me, kill me. When she was your pride, you would have thought I had done her harm if I had brushed against her in the street. You can't believe. Why should you? A syllable that comes out of my lips. It would be a burning shame upon you, even now, if she and I exchanged a word. I don't complain. I don't say she and I are alike. I know there is a long, long way between us. I only say, with all my guilt and wretchedness upon my head, that I am grateful to her from my soul, and love her. Oh, don't think that all the power I had of loving anything is quite worn out. Throw me away, as all the world does. Kill me for being what I am, and having ever known her, but don't think that of me." He looked upon her, while she made this supplication, in a wild, distracted manner, and, when she was silent, gently raised her. "Martha," said Mr. Peggotty, "God forbid as I should judge you. Forbid as I, of all men, should do that, my girl. You don't know half the change that's come, in course of time, upon me, when you think it likely. Well," he paused a moment, then went on, "you don't understand how 'tis that this here gentleman and me has wished to speak to you. You don't understand what 'tis we has afore us. Listen now." His influence upon her was complete. She stood, shrinkingly, before him, as if she were afraid to meet his eyes, but her passionate sorrow was quite hushed and mute. "If you heard," said Mr. Peggotty, out of what passed between Master Davy and me, tonight when it snew so hard, you know as I have been, we're not fur to seek my dear niece. My dear niece, he repeated steadily. For she's more dear to me now, Martha, than she was dear afore. She put her hands before her face, but otherwise remained quiet. I have heard her tell, said Mr. Peggotty, as you was early left fatherless and motherless, with no friend fur to take, in a rough seafaring way, their place. Maybe you can guess that if you'd had such a friend, you'd have got into a way of being fond of him in course of time, and that my niece was kinder daughter-like to me. As she was silently trembling, he put her shawl carefully about her, taking it up from the ground for that purpose, whereby, said he, I know, both as she would go to the world's furthest end with me, if she could once see me again, and that she would fly to the world's furthest end to keep off seeing me. For though she ain't no call to doubt my love, and don't, he repeated, with a quiet assurance of the truth of what he said, there's shame steps in, and keeps betwixt us. I read, in every word of his plain impressive way of delivering himself, new evidence of his having thought of this one topic, in every feature it presented according to our reckoning, he proceeded. Master Davy's here, and mine, she is like, one day, to make her own poor solitary course to London. We believe, Master Davy, me, and all of us, that you are as innocent of everything that has befell her, as the unborn child. You've spoke of her being pleasant, kind, and gentle to you. Bless her, I knew she was. I knew she always was, to all. You're thankful to her, and you love her. Help us all you can to find her, and may heaven reward you. She looked at him hastily, and for the first time, as if she were doubtful of what he had said. Will you trust me? She asked, in a low voice of astonishment. Full and free, said Mr. Peggotty, to speak to her, if I should ever find her, shelter her, if I have any shelter to divide with her, and then, without her knowledge, come to you, and bring you to her. She asked hurriedly. We both replied together, yes. She lifted up her eyes, and solemnly declared that she would devote herself to this task, fervently and faithfully, that she would never waver in it, never be diverted from it, never relinquish it, while there was any chance of hope. If she were not true to it, might the object she now had in life, which bound her to something devoid of evil, in its passing away from her, leave her more forlorn and more despairing, if that were possible, than she had been upon the river's brink that night, and then might all help, human and divine, renounce her evermore. She did not raise her voice above her breath, or address us, but said this to the night sky, then stood profoundly quiet, looking at the gloomy water. We judged it expedient, now, to tell her all we knew, which I recounted at length. She listened with great attention, and with a face that often changed, but had the same purpose in all its varying expressions. Her eyes occasionally filled with tears, but those she repressed. It seemed as if her spirit were quite altered, and she could not be too quiet. She asked, when all was told, where we were to be communicated with, if occasion should arise. Under a dull lamp in the road, I wrote our 2 addresses on a leaf of my pocket-book, which I tore out and gave to her, and which she put in her poor bosom. I asked her where she lived herself. She said, after a pause, in no place long. It were better not to know. Mr. Peggotty suggesting to me, in a whisper, what had already occurred to myself, I took out my purse, but I could not prevail upon her to accept any money, nor could I exact any promise from her that she would do so at another time. I represented to her that Mr. Peggotty could not be called, for one in his condition, poor, and that the idea of her engaging in this search, while depending on her own resources, shocked us both. She continued steadfast. In this particular, his influence upon her was equally powerless with mine. She gratefully thanked him but remained inexorable. There may be work to be got, she said. I'll try. At least take some assistance, I returned, until you have tried. I could not do what I have promised, for money, she replied. I could not take it, if I was starving. To give me money would be to take away your trust, to take away the object that you have given me, to take away the only certain thing that saves me from the river. In the name of the great Judge, said I, before whom you and all of us must stand at his dread time, dismiss that terrible idea. We can all do some good, if we will. She trembled, and her lips shook, and her face was paler, as she answered, It has been put into your hearts, perhaps, to save a wretched creature for repentance. I am afraid to think so. It seems too bold. If any good should come of me, I might begin to hope, for nothing but harm has ever come of my deeds yet. I am to be trusted, for the first time in a long while, with my miserable life, on account of what you have given me to try for. I know no more, and I can say no more. Again she repressed the tears that had begun to flow, and, putting out her trembling hand, and touching Mr. Peggotty, as if there was some healing virtue in him, went away along the desolate road. She had been ill, probably for a long time. I observed, upon that closer opportunity of observation, that she was worn and haggard, and that her sunken eyes expressed privation and endurance. We followed her at a short distance, our way lying in the same direction, until we came back into the lighted and populous streets. I had such implicit confidence in her declaration, that I then put it to Mr. Peggotty, whether it would not seem, in the onset, like distrusting her, to follow her any farther. He being of the same mind, and equally reliant on her, we suffered her to take her own road, and took ours, which was toward Highgate. He accompanied me a good part of the way, and when we parted, with a prayer for the success of this fresh effort, there was a new and thoughtful compassion in him that I was at no loss to interpret. It was midnight when I arrived at home. I had reached my own gate, and was standing listening for the deep bell of St. Paul's, the sound of which I thought had been borne towards me among the multitude of striking clocks, when I was rather surprised to see that the door of my aunt's cottage was open, and that a faint light in the entry was shining out across the road. Thinking that my aunt might have relapsed into one of her old alarms, and might be watching the progress of some imaginary conflagration in the distance, I went to speak to her. It was with very great surprise that I saw a man standing in her little garden. He had a glass and bottle in his hand, and was in the act of drinking. I stopped short, among the thick foliage outside, for the moon was up now, though obscured, and I recognized the man whom I had once supposed to be a delusion of Mr. Dick's, and had once encountered with my aunt in the streets of the city. He was eating as well as drinking, and seemed to eat with a hungry appetite. He seemed curious regarding the cottage, too, as if it were the first time he had seen it. After stooping to put the bottle on the ground, he looked up at the windows, and looked about, though with a covert and impatient air, as if he was anxious to be gone. The light in the passage was obscured for a moment, and my aunt came out. She was agitated, and told some money into his hand. I heard it chink. "What's the use of this?" he demanded. "I can spare no more," returned my aunt. "Then I can't go," said he. "Here, you may take it back." "You bad man," returned my aunt, with great emotion. "How can you use me so? But why do I ask? It is because you know how weak I am. What have I to do to free myself forever of your visits, but to abandon you to your deserts?" "And why don't you abandon me to my deserts?" said he. "You ask me why," returned my aunt. "What a heart you must have." He stood moodily rattling the money and shaking his head, until at length he said, "Is this all you mean to give me, then?" "It is all I can give you," said my aunt. "You know I have had losses, and am poorer than I used to be. I have told you so. Having got it, why do you give me the pain of looking at you for another moment, and seeing what you have become?" "I have become shabby enough, if you mean that," he said. "I lead the life of an owl." "You stripped me of the greater part of all I ever had," said my aunt. "You closed my heart against the whole world, years and years. You treated me falsely, ungratefully, and cruelly. Go, and repent of it. Don't add new injuries to the long, long list of injuries you have done me." He returned. "It's all very fine. Well, I must do the best I can, for the present, I suppose." In spite of himself, he appeared abashed by my aunt's indignant tears, and came slouching out of the garden. Taking 2 or 3 quick steps, as if I had just come up, I met him at the gate, and went in as he came out. We eyed one another narrowly in passing, and with no favor, "Aunt," said I, hurriedly, "this man alarming you again. Let me speak to him. Who is he?" "Child," returned my aunt, taking my arm, "come in, and don't speak to me for 10 minutes." We sat down in her little parlor. My aunt retired behind the round green fan of former days, which was screwed on the back of a chair, and occasionally wiped her eyes for about a quarter of an hour. Then she came out and took a seat beside me. "Trot," said my aunt, calmly, "it's my husband." "Your husband, aunt? I thought he had been dead." "Dead to me," returned my aunt, "but living." I sat in silent amazement. "Betsy Trotwood don't look a likely subject for the tender passion," said my aunt, composedly. "But the time was, Trot, when she believed in that man most entirely. When she loved him, Trot, right well. When there was no proof of attachment and affection that she would not have given him. He repaid her by breaking her fortune, and nearly breaking her heart. So she put all that sort of sentiment, once and forever, in a grave, and filled it up, and flattened it down. My dear, good aunt." "I left him," my aunt proceeded, laying her hand as usual on the back of mine, generously. "I may say at this distance of time, Trot, that I left him generously. He had been so cruel to me that I might have effected a separation on easy terms for myself, but I did not. He soon made ducks and drakes of what I gave him, sank lower and lower, married another woman, I believe, became an adventurer, a gambler, and a cheat. What he is now, you see. But he was a fine-looking man when I married him," said my aunt, with an echo of her old pride and admiration in her tone, "and I believed him. I was a fool to be the soul of honor." She gave my hand a squeeze, and shook her head, He is nothing to me now, Trot, less than nothing. But, sooner than have him punished for his offences, as he would be if he prowled about in this country, I give him more money than I can afford, at intervals when he reappears, to go away. I was a fool when I married him, and I am so far an incurable fool on that subject, that, for the sake of what I once believed him to be, I wouldn't have even the shadow of my idle fancy hardly dealt with. For I was in earnest, Trot, if ever a woman was. My aunt dismissed the matter with a heavy sigh, and smoothed her dress. There, my dear, she said. Now you know the beginning, middle, and end, and all about it. We won't mention the subject to one another any more. Neither, of course, will you mention it to anybody else. This is my grumpy, frumpy story, and we'll keep it to ourselves, Trot. David Copperfield. Chapter 48. Domestic. I laboured hard at my book, without allowing it to interfere with the punctual discharge of my newspaper duties, and it came out and was very successful. I was not stunned by the praise which sounded in my ears, notwithstanding that I was keenly alive to it, and thought better of my own performance, I have little doubt, than anybody else did. It has always been in my observation of human nature, that a man who has any good reason to believe in himself never flourishes himself before the faces of other people in order that they may believe in him. For this reason, I retained my modesty in very self-respect, and the more praise I got, the more I tried to deserve. It is not my purpose, in this record, though in all other essentials it is my written memory, to pursue the history of my own fictions. They express themselves, and I leave them to themselves. When I refer to them, incidentally, it is only as a part of my progress. Having some foundation for believing, by this time, that nature and accident had made me an author, I pursued my vocation with confidence. Without such assurance I should certainly have left it alone, and bestowed my energy on some other endeavour. I should have tried to find out what nature and accident really had made me, and to be that, and nothing else. I had been writing, in the newspaper and elsewhere, so prosperously, that when my new success was achieved, I considered myself reasonably entitled to escape from the dreary debates. One joyful night, therefore, I noted down the music of the parliamentary bagpipes for the last time, and I have never heard it since, though I still recognize the old drone in the newspapers, without any substantial variation, except, perhaps, that there is more of it. All the livelong session that I now write of the time when I had been married, I suppose, about a year and a half. After several varieties of experiment, we had given up the housekeeping as a bad job. The house kept itself, and we kept a page. The principal function of this retainer was to quarrel with the cook, in which respect he was a perfect Whittington, without his cat, or the remotest chance of being made Lord Mayor. He appears to me to have lived in a hail of saucepan lids. His whole existence was a scuffle. He would shriek for help on the most improper occasions, as when we had a little dinner party, or a few friends in the evening, and would come tumbling out of the kitchen, with iron missiles flying after him. We wanted to get rid of him, but he was very much attached to us, and wouldn't go. He was a tearful boy, and broke into such deplorable lamentations, when a cessation of our connection was hinted at, that we were obliged to keep him. He had no mother, no anything in the way of a relative that I could discover, except a sister, who fled to America the moment we had taken him off our hands, and he became quartered on us like a horrible young changeling. He had a lively perception of his own unfortunate state, and was always rubbing his eyes with the sleeve of his jacket, or stooping to blow his nose on the extreme corner of a little pocket handkerchief, which he never would take completely out of his pocket, but always economized and secreted. This unlucky page, engaged in an evil hour at £6.10 per annum, was a source of continual trouble to me. I watched him as he grew, and he grew like scarlet beans, with painful apprehensions of the time when he would begin to shave, even of the days when he would be bald or grey. I saw no prospect of ever getting rid of him, and, projecting myself into the future, used to think what an inconvenience he would be when he was an old man, that I never expected anything less than this unfortunate's manner of getting me out of my difficulty. He stole Dora's watch, which, like everything else belonging to us, had no particular place of its own, and, converting it into money, spent the produce. He was always a weak-minded boy, in incessantly riding up and down between London and Uxbridge outside the coach. He was taken to Bow Street, as well as I remember, on the completion of his 15th journey, when 4 and 6pence, and a second-hand fife which he couldn't play, were found upon his person. The surprise and its consequences would have been much less disagreeable to me if he had not been penitent. But he was very penitent indeed, and in a peculiar way, not in the lump, but by installments. For example, the day after that on which I was obliged to appear against him, he made certain revelations touching a hamper in the cellar, which we believed to be full of wine, but which had nothing in it except bottles and corks. We supposed he had now eased his mind, and told the worst he knew of the cook, but, a day or two afterwards, his conscience sustained a new twinge, and he disclosed how she had a little girl, who, early every morning, took away our bread, and also how he himself had been suborned to maintain the milkman in coals. In 2 or 3 days more, I was informed by the authorities of his having led to the discovery of sirloins of beef among the kitchen stuff, and sheets in the rag bag. A little while afterwards, he broke out in an entirely new direction, and confessed to a knowledge of burglarious intentions as to our premises, on the part of the potboy, who was immediately taken up. I got to be so ashamed of being such a victim, that I would have given him any money to hold his tongue, or would have offered a round bribe for his being permitted to run away. It was an aggravating circumstance in the case that he had no idea of this, but conceived that he was making me amends in every new discovery, not to say, heaping obligations on my head. At last I ran away myself, whenever I saw an emissary of the police approaching with some new intelligence, and lived a stealthy life until he was tried and ordered to be transported. Even then he couldn't be quiet, but was always writing us letters, and wanted so much to see Dora before he went away, that Dora went to visit him, and fainted when she found herself inside the iron bars. In short, I had no peace of my life until he was expatriated, and made, as I afterwards heard, a shepherd of, up the country somewhere. I have no geographical idea where. All this led me into some serious reflections, and presented our mistakes in a new aspect, as I could not help communicating to Dora one evening, in spite of my tenderness for her. "My love," said I, "it is very painful to me to think that our want of system and management involves not only ourselves, which we have got used to, but other people. You have been silent for a long time, and now you are going to be cross," said Dora. "No, my dear, indeed. Let me explain to you what I mean." "I think I don't want to know," said Dora, "but I want you to know, my love. Put Jip down." Dora put his nose to mine, and said "Bo," to drive my seriousness away, but, not succeeding, ordered him into his pagoda, and sat looking at me, with her hands folded, and a most resigned little expression of countenance. "The fact is, my dear," I began, "there is contagion in us. We infect everyone about us." I might have gone on in this figurative manner, if Dora's face had not admonished me that she was wondering with all her might whether I was going to propose any new kind of vaccination, or other medical remedy, for this unwholesome state of ours. Therefore I checked myself, and made my meaning plainer. "It is not merely, my pet," said I, "that we lose money and comfort, and even temper sometimes, by not learning to be more careful, but that we incur the serious responsibility of spoiling everyone who comes into our service, or has any dealings with us. I begin to be afraid that the fault is not entirely on one side, but that these people all turn out ill because we don't turn out very well ourselves." "Oh, what an accusation!" exclaimed Dora, opening her eyes wide. "To say that you ever saw me take gold watches." "Oh, my dearest," I remonstrated, "don't talk preposterous nonsense. Who has made the least allusion to gold watches?" "You did," returned Dora. "You know you did. You said I hadn't turned out well, and compared me to him." "To whom?" I asked. "To the page," sobbed Dora. "Oh, you cruel fellow, to compare your affectionate wife to a transported page. Why didn't you tell me your opinion of me before we were married? Why didn't you say, you hard-hearted thing, that you were convinced I was worse than a transported page? Oh, what a dreadful opinion to have of me! Oh, my goodness!" "Now, Dora, my love," I returned, gently trying to remove the handkerchief she pressed to her eyes, "this is not only very ridiculous of you, but very wrong. In the first place, it's not true." "You always said he was a storyteller," sobbed Dora. "And now you say the same of me. Oh, what shall I do? What shall I do?" "My darling girl," I retorted, "I really must entreat you to be reasonable, and listen to what I did say, and do say. My dear Dora, unless we learn to do our duty to those whom we employ, they will never learn to do their duty to us. I am afraid we present opportunities to people to do wrong, that never ought to be presented. Even if we were as lax as we are, in all our arrangements, by choice, which we are not, even if we liked it, and found it agreeable to be so, which we don't, I am persuaded we should have no right to go on in this way. We are positively corrupting people. We are bound to think of that. I can't help thinking of it, Dora. It is a reflection I am unable to dismiss, and it sometimes makes me very uneasy. There, dear, that's all. Come now. Don't be foolish." Dora would not allow me, for a long time, to remove the handkerchief. She sat sobbing and murmuring behind it, that, if I was uneasy, why had I ever been married? Why hadn't I said, even the day before we went to church, that I knew I should be uneasy, and I would rather not? If I couldn't bear her, why didn't I send her away to her aunts at Putney, or to Julia Mills in India? Julia would be glad to see her, and would not call her a transported page. Julia never had called her anything of the sort. In short, Dora was so afflicted, and so afflicted me by being in that condition, that I felt it was of no use repeating this kind of effort, though never so mildly, and I must take some other course. What other course was left to take? To form her mind. This was a common phrase of words which had a fair and promising sound, and I resolved to form Dora's mind that I began immediately. When Dora was very childish, and I would have infinitely preferred to humor her, I tried to be grave, and disconcerted her, and myself too. I talked to her on the subjects which occupied my thoughts, and I read Shakespeare to her, and fatigued her to the last degree. I accustomed myself to giving her, as it were quite casually, little scraps of useful information, or sound opinion, and she started from them when I let them off, as if they had been crackers. No matter how incidentally or naturally I endeavored to form my little wife's mind, I could not help seeing that she always had an instinctive perception of what I was about, and became a prey to the keenest apprehensions. In particular, it was clear to me that she thought Shakespeare a terrible fellow. The formation went on very slowly till I pressed Traddles into the service without his knowledge, and whenever he came to see us, exploded my minds upon him for the edification of Dora at second hand. The amount of practical wisdom I bestowed upon Traddles in this manner was immense, and of the best quality, but it had no other effect upon Dora than to depress her spirits, and make her always nervous with the dread that it would be her turn next. I found myself in the condition of a schoolmaster, a trap, a pitfall, of always playing spider to Dora's fly, and always pouncing out of my hole to her infinite disturbance still. Looking forward through this intermediate stage, to the time when there should be a perfect sympathy between Dora and me, and when I should have formed her mind to my entire satisfaction, I persevered, even for months. Finding at last, however, that, although I had been all this time a very porcupine or hedgehog, bristling all over with determination, I had effected nothing, it began to occur to me that perhaps Dora's mind was already formed. On further consideration this appeared so likely, that I abandoned my scheme, which had had a more promising appearance in words than in action, resolving henceforth to be satisfied with my child wife, and to try to change her into nothing else by any process. I was heartily tired of being sagacious and prudent by myself, and of seeing my darling under restraint, so I bought a pretty pair of earrings for her, and a collar for Jip, and went home one day to make myself agreeable. Dora was delighted with the little presents, and kissed me joyfully, but there was a shadow between us, however slight, and I had made up my mind that it should not be there. If there must be such a shadow anywhere, I would keep it for the future in my own breast. I sat down by my wife on the sofa, and put the earrings in her ears, and then I told her that I feared we had not been quite as good company lately as we used to be, and that the fault was mine, which I sincerely felt, and which indeed it was. The truth is, Dora, my life, I said, I have been trying to be wise. And to make me wise too, said Dora, timidly. Haven't you, Dodie? I nodded assent to the pretty inquiry of the raised eyebrows, and kissed the parted lips. It's of not a bit of use, said Dora, shaking her head, until the earrings rang again. You know what a little thing I am, and what I wanted you to call me from the first. If you can't do so, I am afraid you'll never like me. Are you sure you don't think, sometimes, it would have been better to have done what, my dear? For she made no effort to proceed. Nothing, said Dora, nothing. I repeated. She put her arms round my neck, and laughed, and called herself by her favorite name of a goose, and hid her face on my shoulder in such a profusion of curls that it was quite a task to clear them away and see it. Don't I think it would have been better to have done nothing than to have tried to form my little wife's mind? Said I, laughing at myself. Is that the question? Yes, indeed, I do. Is that what you have been trying? Cried Dora. Oh, what a shocking boy! But I shall never try any more, said I, for I love her dearly as she is. Without a story, really? Inquired Dora, creeping closer to me. Why should I seek to change, said I, what has been so precious to me for so long? You never can show better than as your own natural self, my sweet Dora, and we'll try no conceited experiments, but go back to our old way, and be happy. And be happy, returned Dora. Yes, all day. And you won't mind things going tiny morsel wrong, sometimes. No, no, said I, we must do the best we can. And you won't tell me, any more, that we make other people bad, coaxed Dora. Will you? Because you know it's so dreadfully cross. No, no, said I, it's better for me to be stupid than uncomfortable, isn't it? Said Dora. Better to be naturally Dora than anything else in the world. In the world? Ah, Dodie, it's a large place. She shook her head, turned her delighted bright eyes up to mine, kissed me, broke into a merry laugh, and sprang away to put on Jip's new collar. So ended my last attempt to make any change in Dora. I had been unhappy in trying it. I could not endure my own solitary wisdom. I could not reconcile it with her former appeal to me as my child wife. I resolved to do what I could, in a quiet way, to improve our proceedings myself, but I foresaw that my utmost would be very little, or I must degenerate into the spider again, and be forever lying in wait, and the shadow I have mentioned, that was not to be between us any more, but was to rest wholly on my own heart? How did that fall? The old unhappy feeling pervaded my life. It was deepened, if it were changed at all, but it was as undefined as ever, and addressed me like a strain of sorrowful music faintly heard in the night. I loved my wife dearly, and I was happy, but the happiness I had vaguely anticipated, once, was not the happiness I enjoyed, and there was always something wanting to I end fulfillment of the compact I have made with myself. To reflect my mind on this paper, I again examine it closely, and bring its secrets to the light. What I missed, I still regarded, I always regarded, as something that had been a dream of my youthful fancy, that was incapable of realization, that I was now discovering to be so, with some natural pain, as all men did. But that it would have been better for me if my wife could have helped me more, and shared the many thoughts in which I had no partner, and that this might have been, I knew, between these two irreconcilable conclusions, the one, that what I felt was general and unavoidable, the other, that it was particular to me, and might have been different, I balanced curiously, with no distinct sense of their opposition to each other. When I thought of the airy dreams of youth that are incapable of realization, I thought of the better state preceding manhood that I had outgrown, and then the contented days with Agnes, in the dear old house, arose before me, like spectres of the dead, that might have some renewal in another world, but never more could be reanimated here. Sometimes the speculation came into my thoughts, what might have happened, or what would have happened, if Dora and I had never known each other. But she was so incorporated with my existence, that it was the idlest of all fancies, and would soon rise out of my reach and sight. Like gossamer floating in the air did I always loved her. What I am describing, slumbered, and half awoke, and slept again, in the innermost recesses of my mind. There was no evidence of it in me. I know of no influence it had in anything I said or did. I bore the weight of all our little cares, and all my projects. Dora held the pens, and we both felt that our shares were adjusted as the case required. She was truly fond of me, and proud of me, and when Agnes wrote a few earnest words in her letters to Dora, of the pride and interest with which my old friends heard of my growing reputation, and read my book as if they heard me speaking its contents, Dora read them out to me with tears of joy in her bright eyes, and said I was a dear old clever, famous boy, the first mistaken impulse of an undisciplined heart. Those words of Mrs. Strong's were constantly recurring to me, at this time, were almost always present to my mind. I awoke with them, often, in the night. I remember to have even read them, in dreams, inscribed upon the walls of houses. For I knew, now, that my own heart was undisciplined when it first loved Dora, and that if it had been disciplined, it never could have felt, when we were married, what it had felt in its secret experience. There can be no disparity in marriage, like unsuitability of mind and purpose. Those words I remembered too. I had endeavored to adapt Dora to myself, and found it impracticable. It remained for me to adapt myself to Dora, to share with her what I could, and be happy, to bear on my own shoulders what I must, and be happy still. This was the discipline too, which I tried to bring my heart, when I began to think. It made my second year much happier than my first, and, what was better still, made Dora's life all sunshine. But, as that year wore on, Dora was not strong. I had hoped that lighter hands than mine would help to mold her character, and that a baby smile upon her breast might change my child wife to a woman. It was not to be. The spirit fluttered for a moment on the threshold of its little prison, and, unconscious of captivity, took wing. When I can run about again, as I used to do, Aunt, said Dora, I shall make Jip race. He is getting quite slow and lazy. I suspect, my dear, said my aunt quietly working by her side, he has a worse disorder than that. Age, Dora. Do you think he is old? Said Dora, astonished. Oh, how strange it seems that Jip should be old. It's a complaint we are all liable to, little one, as we get on in life, said my aunt, cheerfully. I don't feel more free from it than I used to be, I assure you. But Jip, said Dora, looking at him with compassion, even little Jip. Oh, poor fellow. I dare say he'll last a long time yet, Blossom, said my aunt, patting Dora on the cheek, as she leaned out of her couch to look at Jip, who responded by standing on his hind legs, and balking himself in various asthmatic attempts to scramble up by the head and shoulders. He must have a piece of flannel in his house this winter, and I shouldn't wonder if he came out quite fresh again, with the flowers in the spring. Bless the little dog, exclaimed my aunt. If he had as many lives as a cat, and was on the point of losing them all, he'd bark at me with his last breath, I believe. Dora had helped him up on the sofa, where he really was defying my aunt to such a furious extent that he couldn't keep straight, but bark himself sideways. The more my aunt looked at him, the more he reproached her, for she had lately taken to spectacles, and for some inscrutable reason he considered the glasses personal Dora made him lie down by her, with a good deal of persuasion, and when he was quiet, drew one of his long ears through and through her hand, repeating thoughtfully, even little Jip. Oh, poor fellow. His lungs are good enough, said my aunt, gaily, and his dislikes are not at all feeble. He has a good many years before him, no doubt. But if you want a dog to race with, little Blossom, he has lived too well for that, and I'll give you one. Thank you, Aunt, said Dora, faintly. But don't, please. No, said my aunt, taking off her spectacles. "I couldn't have any other dog but Jip," said Dora. "It would be so unkind to Jip. Besides, I couldn't be such friends with any other dog but Jip, because he wouldn't have known me before I was married, and wouldn't have barked at Dodie when he first came to our house. I couldn't care for any other dog but Jip, I am afraid, Aunt." "To be sure," said my aunt, patting her cheek again. "You are right." "You are not offended," said Dora. "Are you?" "Why, what a sensitive pet it is," cried my aunt, bending over her affectionately. "To think that I could be offended." No, I didn't really think so," returned Dora. "But I am a little tired, and it made me silly for a moment. I am always a silly little thing, you know, but it made me more silly to talk about Jip. He has known me in all that has happened to me, haven't you, Jip? And I couldn't bear to slight him, because he was a little altered. Could I, Jip?" Jip nestled closer to his mistress, and lazily licked her hand. "You are not so old, Jip, are you, that you'll leave your mistress yet?" said Dora. "We may keep one another company a little longer." My pretty Dora! When she came down to dinner on the ensuing Sunday, and was so glad to see old Traddles, who always dined with us on Sunday, we thought she would be running about as she used to do, in a few days. But they said, "Wait a few days more," and then, "Wait a few days more," and still she neither ran nor walked. She looked very pretty, and was very merry, but the little feet that used to be so nimble when they danced round Jip were dull and motionless. I began to carry her downstairs every morning, and upstairs every night. She would clasp me round the neck and laugh, the while, as if I did it for a wager. Jip would bark and caper round us, and go on before, and look back on the landing, breathing short, to see that we were coming. My aunt, the best and most cheerful of nurses, would trudge after us, a moving mass of shawls and pillows. Mr. Dick would not have relinquished his post of candle-bearer to anyone alive. Traddles would be often at the bottom of the staircase, looking on, and taking charge of sportive messages from Dora to the dearest girl in the world. We made quite a gay procession of it, and my child wife was the gayest there, but sometimes, when I took her up, and felt that she was lighter in my arms, a dead blank feeling came upon me, as if I were approaching to some frozen region yet unseen, that numbed my life. I avoided the recognition of this feeling by any name, or by any communing with myself, until one night, when it was very strong upon me, and my aunt had left her with a parting cry of "Good night, little Blossom," I sat down at my desk alone, and tried to think, oh, what a fatal name it was, and how the blossom withered in its bloom upon the tree.